having some technical issues on our end. So I'm just waiting a couple more seconds to let everybody log back in without the password. I apologize for the for the technical difficulties on our end, and we will get started in just a couple of seconds. But thank you all for tuning in. I'm so excited for you guys to hear about our service project. There's some kids in. Okay, Cubs. So this year, I'm super excited to tell you that Atlanta Area Council, BSA, is partnering with Novelis, and we are challenging our Cubs for the month of July to collect 1,500 pounds of aluminum to support building a Habitat for Humanity house. We have a collection center located at the Volunteer Service Center available for you to drop off your aluminum bottles and cans. Your unit can organize the collection points in neighborhoods, local businesses, or at your charter organization, or you can participate individually with your family. We need to know about your success. You'll need to weigh your cans to log your results. If you take your cans to the local recycling center, the check for the value of the cans should be made out to Atlanta Habitat for Humanity and then mailed to the council office. All scouts who participate in this program will receive a commemorative patch. You can see the amazing patch on your video screen right now. It's so cute, and I know you all will love to have that patch. So we have Ashley Gravely with us today. She is from Novelis, and she is going to tell us more about the program. Ashley is the manager of corporate social responsibility for Novelis, which is the global leader in aluminum rolled products and the world's largest recycler of used aluminum cans. In this role, Ms. Gravely leads the development and execution of the company's global charitable investment strategy and volunteer program. Ms. Gravely earned her Bachelor of Arts in Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. She is personally active in the Atlanta community. Ms. Gravely serves as program advisor for the Atlanta Women's Foundation Inspire Atlanta Leadership Development Program and is on the Volunteerism Advisory Committee for the West Side Future Fund. In 2019, she was named as part of the Atlanta Business Chronicles 40 Under 40 class. We are so excited to have Ashley with us today, and she is going to tell us all about our service project. Ashley, take it away.
Good morning, Cub Scouts, staff, and leaders. I am so excited to be here today to share with you all about aluminum recycling, and an initiative we have called Recycle for Good. So thank you for your time today, and I hope you will seriously consider joining this service project because it will make a difference on many, many fronts. The one thing that I know Cub Scouts are really committed to is preserving our environment and helping others. And so I really believe this hits on a number of values and focus areas that the Cub Scouts stand for. So with that, let's get started and let's learn a little bit about where aluminum comes from, what products it's a part of, and how you can help pay it forward for others. So let's go to the next slide.
The kids are on the chat.
So I would love to ask you guys, you know, what, and you can say in the comments, what do some of these items have in common? You'll see on screen, you'll see metal, you'll see plastic bottles, you'll see paper and cardboard, glass and aluminum. What do those have in common? comments roll in. So good job. You were right if you said that it can all be recycled. So these products can all be recycled. However, the cool thing about aluminum is that aluminum can be recycled forever without losing its properties. So when you recycle plastic or you recycle paper or cardboard or glass, they have an infinite life, or they have a finite life cycle, which means that they can only be recycled so many times back into the product before they have to make something else, usually a lower product line. But aluminum can be recycled forever. So if you're drinking from a can today, you know, you can drink from that can, recycle it and drink from a can many, many years to come. So let's go to the next slide, and good job on your recycling. I'm seeing that a lot of you already recycle. So as we just shared, you know, the materials that can be recycled, and you can click on the slide again, you know, our paper, our plastic, our light bulbs, our batteries, you know, it's all important that everything ends up in the right place. And the reason why is because if these things are just thrown in the trash, they do not make it to companies like Novelis who recycle. They end up in our landfills, and landfills are just these big, massive dump spaces that no one wants in their backyard. Would you want a big trash dump in your backyard? I'm thinking not. So the other part of this is aluminum, and a lot of these products, but aluminum being the biggest value, has financial value. So you can actually get paid for your recyclables. And if you notice, some states have deposits on their cans. So if you live in Michigan or California or some of the deposit states, they actually pay you 5, 6, 10 cents per can you bring back. So these items have value, and they shouldn't be going into our landfill. Only trash should go to our landfill. So let's get to the next slide. So beverage cans are commonly recycled. And so I'd like to ask you all, what are beverage cans made of? I'm seeing some comments coming in, so excellent. If you said aluminum, you are correct. So beverage cans, when we're talking about just beverage cans, pictured in here, are made out of aluminum. And aluminum, like I said, is infinitely recyclable, which means that you can recycle it forever without it losing its properties. So let's find out a little bit more about aluminum. Let's get to the next slide. So I'd like to use the poll feature, and I want you guys to comment on, is aluminum very rare? Is that true or false? What do you think? So vote. You should be seeing a poll to vote. And so if you'll make your comments on the poll, we'll give you just a moment. Do, 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 do. Okay, a couple more seconds. All right, let's check out the poll. Excellent. So for the 83% of you who detailed that aluminum is not rare, you are correct. If we can close that and go and click on the next, aluminum is actually the third most common element in the Earth's crust. So this is great news, right? Because we have all kinds of products being made out of aluminum, from beverage cans to airplanes to cars to other transportation to even like stop signs. So all of these things are being made out of aluminum. And if all of these things are being made out of aluminum and it's recycled infinitely, that limits what we have to pull out of the earth. And what we pull out of the earth does have, you know, impacts on life, on our land, on flora and fauna. And so if we can minimize that and keep things in circulation, it's a great thing to do. So let's talk about how aluminum comes from bauxite. So let's go to the next slide. And if we can take down the poll feature, it's blocking the slide. Or maybe it's just on my end. Never mind. Okay, so let's talk about when aluminum was discovered. So it was discovered in 1825, and at that time, it was actually more expensive than gold and silver. A fun fact is Napoleon Bonaparte had his baby rattle made out of alumina. It was, you know, way more expensive than anything that they had at the time. And in fact, our nation's Washington Monument, if you look at the top of the monument, that's actually made where the pyramid is. It's actually aluminum because it was, you know, very wealthy at that. It was very expensive at the time. So what has changed in the past 100 years is that, especially in the past 80, is that technology has caught up with us. So now we can make aluminum in a more cost-efficient way. And so that helps us make products that can be used every day. Let's go to the next slide. So I'd like to do another poll. So who thinks aluminum is strong? Do you think it's strong or weak? You know, when you
Ashley, I'm so sorry. Super quick, before we put this slide up, can I just interject really quick?
Of course.
So Scouts, we can see everything you're posting, and I just want to remind you that we can see all your comments and who they're coming from. And remember, this is a Scout camp, and we need to display Scout behavior. So unless Ashley is asking a question that we need to reply to, please hold your comments and make sure that everything you reply is Scout-like behavior and Scout appropriate. Please do not make us disable the comments. I know that we can all answer respectfully and display Scout behavior. Thank you very much. Okay, Ashley, you may continue.
Okay, so let's do a fun poll, guys. How much weight do you think 4 6-packs of cans can support? So if we were to evenly place it, place a big, you know, pile of weights on these 4 6-packs, how many pounds do you think these 4 6-packs could support? So we'll give you a couple minutes. So the choices are 500 pounds, 1,000, 2,000, or 4,000 pounds. Okay, make your choice. 5, 4, 3. Let's see what you said. Okay. So that's interesting. So actually, the strength of aluminum is substantial, and cans in particular, because of the way they're engineered. You may think they're simple, but they're actually highly engineered. And the answer is actually 4,000 pounds. So if you'll click, so it will animate, aluminum cans are extremely strong, and aluminum in general is strong. So pound for pound, aluminum is just as strong as steel, which is incredible given how lightweight aluminum is. If you've ever held something made out of aluminum and the same thing made out of steel, you will see a substantial difference. 3 times the weight usually is what steel has. And what's also incredible is the side of the aluminum can is only as thick as a human hair. So it is very, very thin. So to hold this amount of weight is a really great engineering feat, but it is also indicative of the strength of aluminum. So let's go to the next slide. So each year, about 100 billion cans are made in the US, and Novelis provides the metal for a majority of that. We also recycle around 70 billion cans a year across the globe. However, we need your help in recycling more because unfortunately, Americans throw away 100 million cans each year. And if you laid these cans end to end, we would wrap around 1/3 of the Earth's circumference. We would go back and forth across the US 1.5 times. So if you think about from the South Carolina coast to the California coast, we would go back and back again with cans to spare. We would also be able to line up all those cans we throw away and reach the center of the earth and come back. So this is a tremendous amount of waste. And again, remember that I said cans are infinitely recycled. So if we're putting them in our land, it is not a good thing. So let's go to the next slide. And I think this is where we have a video. So let's watch this video. So this will feature former National Hockey star Andrew Ference. He was a Hockey League Cup winner, Stanley Cup champion. And let's see what he has to say about recycling. Just 1 minute. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
Ashley, we have a question from a William. He wants to know if there is aluminum used in skyscrapers instead of steel.
Hi, I'm Andrew Ference, defenseman with the Edmonton Oilers in the National Hockey League. I'm just getting a little practice in. On the ice, I think it's important to have a can-do attitude and work hard to defend my team's goal. Off the ice, I'm a champion for the planet, and that's why I've teamed up with Novelis and Discovery Education's Life of a Can program. And the cool thing is, you can join the team too. Each day in North America alone, approximately 102 million cans are thrown away and end up in landfills. That's enough cans to fill this rink 221 times. In 1 year, that adds up to $1.5 billion of aluminum just sitting in landfills. Just like there's a plan to move the puck around the ice, shoot it in the net, and win the game, there's also a plan for each aluminum can to end up back on our shelves in just 60 days. Check out the life cycle of an aluminum can. First, you make the choice to put an aluminum can in the recycling bin instead of the trash. Then, cans are collected and smashed down into giant bales. They're sent to a recycling plant where they're shredded, melted, and cast into huge aluminum slabs that weigh more than 4,000 pounds. Then, they're rolled out and made into long sheets. Can manufacturers use them to stamp out new aluminum cans, which are cleaned, sanitized, filled with your favorite beverage, and put back on the shelf. It all happens in just 60 days. Once you finish your drink and recycle it, the whole process starts all over again. And there's no limit to how many times cans can be recycled. Novelis calls this closed-loop recycling. Score for less litter, more energy savings, and a healthier, cleaner planet for us all. Nice shot, Ava.
Thanks, Dad. So what's the importance of just one can?
Well, it's one can today, but one can every day of the year would equal how many cans?
365.
That's right. And when people choose to throw them away instead of recycling, they're throwing away $1.5 billion worth of aluminum every year in North America alone. Every can is valuable, and just like you wouldn't throw away money, you shouldn't throw away a can when it can be recycled. One can is our chance to give our animals a healthy environment and maintain a beautiful planet for everyone. So what do you think? What can you do to help?
We can choose to recycle cans instead of throwing them in the trash, choose recyclable products, and talk to our friends and family about the importance of recycling.
That's right. My kids, my teammates, and I can do it. So how about you? Join the team. Be a defender of the environment. Go to lifeofacan.com to access free educator and family resources and to learn how to start a recycling program at your school. Nice recycling, Aves.
Thanks, Dad.
Okay, well, Cub Scouts, I hope you enjoyed that video. And once we get the slides back up, we are going to have another poll. Let's see what you learned from the video. Okay, so why is it important to recycle aluminum cans? Andrew and his daughter covered a lot of specifics and benefits. So let's take this poll. So why is it important to recycle aluminum cans? 1, reduces waste in landfills. 2, conserves natural resources. 3, reduces energy use. Or 4, all of the above. Make your choice now and we'll see how you did. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's check it out. Okay, well, good for all of you. 75% of you said all of the above, and you are correct. So it reduces waste in landfills. It conserves our natural resources because if we recycle, we have to pull less bauxite from the earth, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. And when we pull the bauxite from the earth, that takes a lot of energy. And so we're going to go through how aluminum is made so I can tell you about the energy component you save when you recycle. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so life cycle of a can we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how bauxite is recovered and how it ends up into your hand as a can. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so step 1 is bauxite mining. This is when mining companies go in and dig out what looks like red clay. If you've seen Georgia red clay, that's kind of what bauxite ore looks like. And it's mined from the ground in places like Brazil, Jamaica, China, and India. All of these places are close to the equator. And bauxite mining itself, to dig up the red clay looking bauxite, doesn't take a ton of energy, but it is disruptive to the environment, as you can see. So, you know, things that live there or plants that grow there are disrupted. But from an energy standpoint, it's pretty low intensive. So once we have this bauxite, let's go to step 2. So it goes through a refining process. So it pulls the aluminum out of the red clay looking bauxite and leaves a fine white powder that we call alumina. Now this is a little bit more energy intensive, so it takes about 15 units of energy of the total life of a can. Let's go to step 3. So step 3 is one of my favorite parts because this white sugar-like powder is zapped with electric current. And what happens is it separates the aluminum from the oxygen. And what results is pretty phenomenal. It looks like it becomes that silver lava that we think about melted aluminum looking like. And so that's when the silvery color comes through from aluminum. And this is heavily energy intensive because the amount of electricity having to go to turn this white powder into this silver-like lava is a lot. So this is the most energy intensive part of making aluminum for your cans. Let's go to step 4. So after we have this aluminum lava-like, we put it into molds. And from the video, you saw those big chunks of aluminum. Those are called ingots. And as they harden, that's what we will eventually roll flat into a coil. And this isn't very energy intensive, so let's go to step 5. So once those ingots, those big chunks of ingots are heated, they pass through a series of rollers. And the way I like to think about it is if you are rolling cookie dough, you're going to make some cookies and you have this big chunk of of cookie dough and you're rolling it flat and you're using pressure. That's kind of what happens when we roll aluminum flat. And as I told you before, aluminum from Novelis can be rolled as thin as a hair on your head. So it takes a lot of heat, a lot of pressure, but we turn these into coils, and those coils are then shipped to the can makers who stamp out the cans, which is step 6. So this is where a can begins to look like a can. So they take those coils, they stamp it out, and cans are trimmed, printed, and cleaned, filled with your favorite beverage, and ready for you to consume. This is a bit energy intensive, but not nearly as much as, you know, previous steps. Let's go to step 7. So then you're at the grocery store and you have a choice. You have a choice of what kind of beverage packaging you want. And I hope moving forward, you'll choose aluminum knowing that it can be recycled forever. But you do have a choice. And one of those choices is throwing it in the garbage can, where it will end up in a landfill. And the second choice is recycling it so it comes back to Novelis and we don't have to go through those original steps of getting more bauxite from the mine. So if you can click on this to animate. So if you can remember, the most energy intensive part was the electric zapping, which is, you know, when we zap that white powder that we just pulled and goes to the lava. So if we can avoid that, that's a good thing. Let's go to the next slide. So if you choose to throw your can away in the trash, it doesn't just disappear. It goes into a landfill. And at that point, we lose the can forever. And so we have to, if we need a new can, we have to start from bauxite mining, which again is much more heavily intensive. And actually, it takes 95% of the energy to make a new can versus the 5% to recycle it. So let's go to the next. So if you recycle it, again, you bypass all the mining, the energy zapping, and you just go to continuous loop of recycling. And we have actually a recycling plant right here in Greensboro, Georgia. So the cans that you throw in the recycling bin are likely going to our recycling center in Georgia. Let's go to the next slide. So as the video with Andrew Ference talked about, this is an incredible process that if you throw your can into a recycling bin, it can be back on the shelf and in your hands again in 60 days. And that's pretty incredible. So the supply chain system of that is very advanced, and we need you to help recycle more. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so now that I've given you all a background of where aluminum comes from, where some of the energy intensive things are, I want to tell you more about the project that you can be a part of called Recycle for Good. So in Georgia alone, Georgians are throwing away $73 million worth of aluminum to landfills. And again, this is a shame because aluminum can be infinitely recycled. Across North America, $1.5 billion worth of aluminum goes needlessly to landfills each year. Now, I don't know about you, but that is a lot of money that we could put to good use, right? To help our neighbors, to fund more scouting projects, to help build homes for those who need affordable housing. So 6 years ago, Novelis reached out to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is the home of the Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United Soccer Club. We reached out to other organizations too, like First Robotics and some companies, and asked them to, let's all collect our cans And let's pay that value forward to help build Habitat for Humanity homes on Atlanta's west side. And by doing so, help showing its tangible value and how we could pay it forward to others will hopefully help change recycling behaviors. And we thought, you know, partnering with Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the gravitas of the teams like Atlanta Falcons, sports, you know, can help us really champion this behavior change. And since they consume so many cans in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it would help us get to our goal of building homes quicker. So let's go to the next slide. So how Recycle for Good works. So essentially for every 3 million aluminum bottles and aluminum cans collected, the value of that is $80,000, which is equivalent to the cost of funding a Habitat for Humanity home on Atlanta's west side. And how we do that is the money that people turn in to the value of aluminum is collected, and for those who drop it off at Novelis sanctioned drop-offs, we pay the value forward to Atlanta Habitat. And all of this recycling, so all the cans that are collected within this Recycle for Good program are recycled at Novelis's Greensboro, Georgia plant. So it's a great circular economy story, which means you know, that cans consumed and made in Georgia are staying right here and back on the shelf. This has statewide engagement, and because we have scouts on this call that are in states outside of Georgia, we have the opportunity to take this national. So that's really personally exciting to me. But I want you to know that 2 homes have already been funded and built, and you are making our 3rd possible. And on this screen, you'll see Miss Medley and her 2 daughters, which were the recipients of our first Recycle for Good funded home on the west side. So these are real people that you're helping to have a home. Let's go to the next slide. So as you think about how to organize as an individual, as a troop, as a family, as scouts, set a goal. And I've put up here some targets where you could think about, you know, let's start with a can of paint, and then could we get to a window? Could we get to doing the siding for an entire home or the roofing? And I think if you share these goals with one another and with your family members, friends, and neighbors, they'll understand what you're trying to achieve. And we've had a lot of success in doing so. The other thing that I would say is it was probably about 10 years ago, but there was a troop out of Indiana that actually used can collection and funded an entire home in their community. And so it absolutely, this program has been inspired by the Boy Scouts of America and other entities who have already used this source of sustainable fundraising. And next slide. Okay, so I hope you're leaving this morning inspired. I hope that you understand that you can make a difference, and through this simple act of recycling. So every can you collect matters and gets us one step closer to funding our 3rd Habitat home for a family. So, you know, tips, again, set a goal and ask your neighbors, local businesses, friends and family to start saving their cans for a worthy cause. It doesn't cost any money to get a bag and put them, you know, in a bag and go and collect them. And then make the convenient plan for drop-offs. So if you're near the volunteer service center, those can be dropped off. You can also look at www.earth911.com and see put in your zip code to see recycling facilities close to you. These recycling facilities will pay you for your cans, and you will ask them to make the check out to Habitat for Humanity and send that in. So either way, whether you're close here in Georgia or not, you can participate. And then I'd also encourage you, if you liked what you learned from the recycling resources I shared this morning, we have more STEM activities, and we have a virtual Can Town where you can learn more about the steps of recycling in a virtual kind of game atmosphere on our Life of a Can site, accessible through our Novelis.com website. Again, I thank you so much for your time today, and I'll turn it back over to Tori, and I think we're going to take some questions after she gives a quick summary. You're muted. There you go.
Okay, so we have a few questions that have come through, and I am just going to present those to you now.
Perfect.
The skyscraper question.
Okay, so it says, does that mean that aluminum in skyscrapers can,
If it's so strong,
oh, do they use aluminum in skyscrapers instead of steel?
So aluminum can be used in skyscrapers, and actually when the rebuild of the Twin Towers was happening in New York City, we actually submitted as Novelis a part of that project. The issue, while aluminum isn't more widespread in buildings, is it's much more expensive still than steel. So where you are seeing a lot of switch being made is in the automotive industry. So if you know the F-150 truck, which is the #1 selling vehicle for 20 years straight, we have partnered with Ford and taken over 600 pounds of aluminum out of the vehicle. It is more expensive, but automakers have realized its benefits because they have needed to make headway on CAFE regulations, which means it's lightweight to get more gas mileage. So it's a trade-off of aluminum is more expensive than steel, and so using it in bulk is still something that has to be weighed out.
the cans be smashed.
Okay. So it says, how do companies extract aluminum from bauxite?
Yeah, so if you think about the earlier slides, so they dig up that red clay dirt, and that is just, Novelis is not in the mining industry, but, of course, we purchase a lot of the alumina and ingots to help make our products. So it's a manufacturing process where they dig it up and then it goes through a refining process, and that makes the aluminum lava that becomes that we take and make into big ingots.
Awesome. Okay.
Why is aluminum more expensive than steel?
Okay, so why is the aluminum more expensive than the steel?
Good question. It's because of the refining process that has to be done versus steel. And it also goes into the manufacturing processes of the end product. So, for example, when Ford switched a lot of their manufacturing lines from steel to aluminum, they had to go back and redo a lot of their lines that were built for the way steel is joined together. So there's a difference between how steel is joined together than how aluminum is joined together. So all of those costs add up.
Okay, good job. And then we had one that just came in. Is aluminum used in rocket ships or spaceships?
Absolutely. So aerospace is a great, or is one of the areas that Novelis serves. And certainly NASA is also uses aluminum in a number of their spacecraft as well because of its lightness and strength. Good question.
It was a good question. And so our last one that we're going to ask, and I believe they're asking for the collection and recycling, they say, can the cans be smashed or should they stay intact for the recycling program?
So they can be either. One thing that we're working on is, making sure that the cans are clean. So we don't want people to stuff things in their cans. So sometimes to have it smashed, but it doesn't matter, smashing safe space. So that's a good thing when you're going to dump off a huge load of cans. So they can either be squashed or in full.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Cubs, for your questions. You asked some really great questions. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. That was an amazing presentation, and I know the Scouts got a lot out of it, and we appreciate you and Novelis for giving us this opportunity. Scouts, I have a few reminders for you. Remember, you have two options. The Volunteer Service Center has a site up where you can bring all your cans, or you can Google and find your local collection agency and take it there. But if you do that, the checks need to be made out to Atlanta Habitat for Humanity. But most importantly, before you do any of that, make sure that you log in. And if you can go on the Atlanta Area Council website, and all the links you need are there, you log in so that you make sure you get credit for participating and you get the amazing patch. I think that concludes today. Ashley, did you want to add something?
I did, Tori. So just to give you an idea, so the goal is 1,500 pounds, right? So typically, to make a pound of aluminum is about 30 aluminum cans. Now, if you come across some of the bottles, those are about 1.5 times the weight of a can. So again, aluminum only, but think about, when you're trying to think about what your goal of poundage could be, it's about 30 cans to make a pound. And I'd really love to see you guys blow this out. So 1,500 pounds is substantial because it takes about 100,000 pounds to fund the house. So it's also something that once you have the habit, neighbors like to keep collecting for this cause, and it becomes a habit. So it might be something on an ongoing basis. So again, just thank you for your time, and let's recycle for good.
Okay, Ashley, we actually had one more question come in that was actually a very good question. It says, are we recycling aluminum cans only or anything aluminum?
So,
like foil?
So anything aluminum can be taken to your recycling facility. So that's a great question. One thing with foil is it just can't be dirty. So if it's been on top, keeping food in the refrigerator, and it's clean, that's fine. If it's from your grill and it has barbecue sauce all over it, just go ahead and throw that away because it's too contaminated. There's some other, like we've partnered with Georgia First Robotics, and some of the robotics teams build their robots out of aluminum, and they have scrap aluminum, and they've collected that, and it's gone to recycle for good. So as long as you know that it's aluminum, it can be recycled, and it doesn't have to be just aluminum cans and aluminum bottles. Good question.
All right, awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much, Ashley. And Cubs, this is such an amazing opportunity. How often do we get the opportunity to make such a difference in the lives of others by providing an entire house? And like Ashley said, we have the opportunity to blow this out of the water. So I want to show Novelis what an amazing council Atlanta Area Council is, and that we can absolutely hit this goal of 1,500 pounds. So start collecting, start asking all of your neighbors and friends to save their cans. get with your troop, get with your family, get with your packs, and let's absolutely hit this 1,500 pound challenge. Thank you all for tuning in, and go enjoy your lunch and log back in at 1 o'clock for your next session. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you, Novelis.
Bye-bye.
Bye.